All right, good evening. It's 7 o'clock, and this is the special meeting for the District 21 Board of Commissioners. It's a public hearing, and it is an opportunity for members who are present from the public to hear what we might be proposing. And of course, there's hopefully a lot more people watching online. So call the meeting to order, and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, roll call. I'm Bruce Ansel. Matt Rayburn.
John Crawford.
Scott Fisher.
Kimberly is online. Hi, Kimberly. Thanks for joining us.
Jason Vanderveen, Fire Chief.
All right. So what the plan is tonight is the chief has a PowerPoint presentation that will sort of explain a little bit of how we finance a fire district and why we're looking at lifting the lid or asking the voters to do so. It's about a 15-minute presentation, and so we're not going to stop for questions during the presentation. But when he's done, we'll take a short break, and then we'll entertain comments or simple questions and go from there. So thank you for joining us tonight. Chief?
Commissioner Ansel, thank you very much. Thank you for those in attendance as well as those attending online. I'm just going to share my screen here real quick and get into this PowerPoint. There we go. Okay, so what we're here to talk about tonight is the potential proposition of a levy lid lift in North Whatcom Fire and Rescue, also known as Fire District 21, in 2024. So North Whatcom Fire and Rescue, we provide service to about 34,000 people, over 156 square miles. We are primarily in North Whatcom and Central Whatcom County. The fire district is the area you see in green. It extends from Semiahmoo and Blaine over to just past the incorporated area of Linden, which we do not protect. The pink kind of hole in the donut there is the city of Linden. And then that green extends on down to midway between Ferndale and Everson, down to just about just to the Bellingham city limits. And you see an orange area marked 4 on the lower right of the green area that is Fire District 21. That is Whatcom County Fire District 4, which contracts with us. So we provide service in that area as well. This levy lid lift proposal is only coming before the District 21 voters. The District 4 voters elected to raise their lid last August. So simply what we do, we provide fire suppression, emergency medical services, also known as EMS, fire prevention, and public education to the citizens of North Whatcom or Fire District 21. Interestingly enough, we have 3 school districts that we provide public education and stuff to. We're a rather large district. We are accountable to our taxpayers. We're debt-free. We have been for some time. We operate under a balanced budget per the RCWs, and we have passed all our financial and accountability audits by the state at the highest level. We get audited every other year. So we did get an audit done on an off year as we just changed financial directors. So we wanted to, as one closed out and retired, we did a financial audit through her time in and are starting over again. So we take transparency and being accountable very seriously. Some of the meat and potatoes, call volumes. In 2023, we responded to 5,753 calls. 71% of those are medical emergencies. 30% of the time, especially in the Blaine, Birch Bay, and Semiahmoo area, we have overlapping calls, which means, so there's a station here on Odell Road in Blaine. There's another staff station on Birch Bay, Linden Road. Those two stay about 30% of the time, both those stations, like what's happening right now, both those stations are out on calls. The next unit is coming from Ferndale or Linden. And that happens far too often. So we've identified these weaknesses that we have, or these vulnerabilities that we have. And we're going to go back and kind of talk about how we fund emergency services. So in the state of Washington, a fire district can ask its voters to approve a levy rate up to $1.50 per thousand of assessed value. The last time a levy rate was approved in District 21 was 2006, and it was approved at $1.42. Since then, our levy rate has dropped down to 76 cents. How that happens is there's something called levy compression. And if you'd like me to explain that now in a basic way, I can, or I'll wait. I think I'll wait.
Let's wait on that one.
Yep. It's government math. It's complicated, but it's tied to in Washington State in 2000.
Yes.
Initiative 767 took effect, which limits government's junior taxing districts like us. Our budget can only grow 1% per year. So if we take in $6.5 million of tax revenue, the next year we can take in 6.5 million plus 65,000. Without a vote of the people. The only way to get around that, or to have that be a different percentage, is the people voting to approve that change. As I said, we're allowed to collect a set amount of revenue each year. The state law, Initiative 767, puts that amount at 1%. This means that the levy rate falls as property values rise. It's called levy compression, and bottom line is it impacts our ability to provide emergency services. We can't grow. We can't. If the economy stayed flat, if there was no inflation, we still would have a difficult time growing. A question we get a lot is, do my property taxes increase by the same amount as your home's assessed valuation? And the answer to that is no, it doesn't. We can only increase our revenue by 1% more per year per state law. Any amount higher than that must be approved by the voters. This means that even if your property values rise by double digits, which I think probably everybody that owns a home in this room has seen their property valuations rise double digits in a year easy, the fire district can only collect 1% more or a voter approved increase. Revenue is just not keeping up. We've all seen the economy, inflation up. It was flat 1 year. Other than that, it's been up between 3 and 10% during my time as fire chief since 2019. And that 1% revenue increase just doesn't allow us to be able to expand our services, grow with the community. It makes it difficult to retain good employees. We have to pay a market rate for our firefighters. That's what it costs to have good people. And it makes it difficult to do those things. I wish I could explain it, but since COVID and some of the industrial manufacturing slowdowns, everything has gotten more expensive, just like it has in our personal lives. Apparatus, radios, medical supplies, everything has become just exorbitantly expensive. And further, it doesn't allow us to replace equipment when need be. Our call volumes have doubled, just about doubled in the last 10 years. EMS calls alone have increased about 50% and now account for 71% of all of our calls. Because of where we are geographically in the county, we're so far north of our one hospital in Bellingham. When the crews go out to and transport somebody, they can be unavailable for the next call for up to 2 hours at a time. And that increases response times for emergency calls. You add in there that concurrency rate of 30% of the time. It's not uncommon a couple times a week to see both the station in Birch Bay and Blaine transporting somebody at the same time. And that leaves us just really, really vulnerable. We are firefighters, so we have tried to figure out ways around this problem, and we've probably done ourselves a disservice. We have auto aid agreements with all our neighboring departments. It works well back and forth. We've dropped the borders. There's no more territories. Chiefs don't have territories anymore. But all of us collectively in the fire service are feeling this pinch. And it's time we have to come back to the voters. We're all aware of the train and the delays caused by the train. That can exacerbate things when it comes to emergency response or getting units back in service after a transport. We need to be able to adequately staff our stations and rely on less mutual aid. Like I said, if the station on Birch Bay and the station in Blaine are out dealing with emergencies, our backup comes from Ferndale, Laurel, so right north of the city of Bellingham on the guide, or the city of Linden. The city of Linden, they're not our department. They're, like I said, they're a separate entity. They're dealing with the same restrictions and challenges that we are. They too have about a 30% concurrency problem. They have one staff station. They will split their crews up to handle 2 emergencies at a time, but I can tell you that it's not ideal the way they're doing it, and they're starting to see staffing problems where they can handle 1 emergency at a time. And so what they're relying on is us to back them up. It's a shell game at best. An additional challenge we have is at Station 63, which is the one on Birch Bay Linden Road, is it needs to be replaced. It's unhealthy, it's unsafe, and it has outgrown its useful life. It was originally built in 1981 for a volunteer system. I don't know who put a flat roof on it in the Northwest, but somebody did. Wasn't me. And when this is over, just before we hit the break, I'll show you a video from inside that station. And it'll give you an idea of what some of the challenges we're facing there. We also need to continually replace ambulances. The ambulance that's here in the apparatus bay right now has 200,000 miles on it. They drive a lot of miles every year. They're hard miles. And we need to continually replace those about every 4 years. We need to replace our ladder truck. That's not just for safety and for firefighting, but it also has to do with insurance ratings and insurance, the cost that you would pay for homeowners insurance. That's going to be $2 million minimum. And then we've got 3 fire engines that have reached the end of their useful life. We don't look at things like odometer and hours on them. Unfortunately, the insurance industry states that we can use a fire engine for about 10 years, and then it needs to go in reserve status for the next 10, and then needs to be retired and out of the fleet. Otherwise, we don't get insurance. It's a point system. We don't get points for it. So what everybody wants to know is what will this cost? And what the board here is considering is asking the voters for a lid lift of 34 cents per thousand, which would bring our levy rate to $1.10. The lid lift would cost a homeowner of a $500,000 home an additional $170 per year, or $14.16 per month. That's the asterisk there. That's considered average in this area. If, depending on where you live, you can double it or quarter it or however you need to make it fit your home. But that is considered average in our area. What will the levy fund? That's the other thing. What is it going to cost me and what am I going to get? We are going to hire 8 more firefighter EMTs. But it says over the next 6 years, it's going to happen a little faster than that because, frankly, I've got some compression problems with personnel and they're tired and I need more bodies to respond to higher call volumes. Specifically, the area we're going to target for those high call volumes are here in Blaine, Birch Bay, and Semiahmoo. And that unit, it would be an ambulance that would be stationed in Station 62, which is on Semiahmoo Parkway. It would help us fund the beginning of the replacement of Station 63 in Birch Bay. Worst case scenario, the numbers that we're working with, it could cost up to, I don't believe this is what it will be, but we're anticipating as much as $15 million to replace that station. And so this will help us pay those payments. The way that we're looking to do that is to do what's known as a commissioner indebtedness bond, where the district takes out a loan. So we would need money in order to pay our payment every year, just like a mortgage, as well as replace emergency apparatus that's reached the end of its usable life. As it said in the earlier slide, 4 ambulances, a ladder truck, and fire engines. Why is it? So if the commissioners elect to put this on the ballot, it would be anticipated it would be on the August 6th primary election this summer. If you have any further questions, there'll be a question or a public comment period after for those in attendance, or if you're online, please take a screenshot of this or capture it with your phone. Reach out to me at my email, reach out to me at the office. That's the number there. I'm happy to have a conversation and would love to answer any questions or comments or concerns that any member of the public may have about this presentation or what the question that's before the board. As I said, I would like to play just a really quick video to show you some of the challenges that we're dealing with at Station 63. This was taken this winter in the apparatus bay at Station 63 during one of our rainstorms. We don't have this bad a leak in the living quarters, but we're getting there. We have had an industrial hygienist come out because we had some concerns about the health and safety of our firefighters. But we use a pretty reputable company called Axiom. They do flat roofs all over Seattle and King County. They say they can no longer repair our roof. They can't guarantee any of the work they do because every time they patch one spot, we pop up with another bad spot. So they've said it needs to be torn off completely. So that is the end of my presentation.
Okay. Since that went so quickly and we have so few visitors here tonight, but thank you so much for coming. So what tonight's purpose is, we put notices out to the public to say, hey, this is what we're considering doing, and hopefully you'll show up and voice your opinion, pro or con. We would like to hear it all. The bottom line is we can no longer fund a professional fire service on the amount of money that people are paying. I did some quick numbers just on my own house. I live in Birch Bay, and we hear the stories, and last time in 2021 they were very loud about, well, my assessed value doubled, now why can't we function? My property taxes must have doubled because my assessed value did. And because of the 1% compression or limit, that was I-747, Chief.
They say 767?
Yeah.
No.
That's a newer, bigger model.
Yeah.
So just for over the last 6 years, my house, the value has increased 75%. My property tax has actually only gone up 13%, but my payment to the fire district in 6 years has changed 1% in 6 years. So in 2019, I paid $803, and this year I pay $810. So I'm trying to dispel those naysayers that are saying, well, because my house is worth more now, you guys are getting a lot more money. I don't think the chief stressed that we don't get money from any other government entity. We're not funded by Whatcom County. We're not funded by the federal government. We are our own separate taxing district. That's why we have an elected board of fire commissioners. It's our responsibility to help fund or help get the funds and things that the department needs to be a professional operation. We lost at least 10 good people during and around COVID, not because they objected. We had 100% vaccination rate here. Thank you to our employees. They left because they got paid more next door or in another county south of us. And we were, I would say at that point, I think our wages were probably 25% below market average. And we are doing our best to try to catch up. We have really good people here. I believe 100% in them, and we want to keep them. So that's my little soapbox. Since you're here, if you want to say something, if you just identify yourself for the record. It's
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you need me to give my name or something? Or?
Yeah, just
Peter Battle, live in Erie. So, well, the way I understand this, then you basically your income stream is limited to 1% additional compared to what your base is, which you said was $6 million, correct?
every year
You can go up
we can
maximum
go up
1%.
1%.
So effectively, you have 3, 5, 10% inflation, and you are limited to 1%.
Correct.
So effectively, your costs are going up by 2, 3, 4, 8%, and you have no means of funding.
Correct.
Okay. And then the next question I have is on 62. I believe 62 is the idle facility on Semiahmoo Parkway.
Yes.
Now, from what I understand, you are going to reopen that if the levy passes. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, I think you mentioned something about putting an ambulance there. So will there just be an ambulance there, or?
There'll be a reserve fire engine there. It'll only be staffed with 2 firefighters.
Okay.
And our minimum staffing for fire events is 3 firefighters. The hope is eventually that will be the next station to be staffed. We really need a third engine in this area. But we have to make these incremental growth pieces.
In a nutshell, Semiahmoo has grown exponentially over the last 10 years. So effectively, while Semiahmoo has grown, the tax base from Semiahmoo has grown greatly, which has all gone to Whatcom County. But what I'm hearing is you guys have got none of it, except for 1%.
We get the whatever levy rate that is in effect. So
But you're only getting, unless an additional levy is passed,
right.
all the increase in tax revenue that Whatcom County has seen from the new houses that have gone in have not come to you guys to help provide additional service.
We do get some money for new construction, but it's not enough to buy a fire truck.
And that's how you see. That's when we talk about levy compression. So we get 1% plus the new construction, but the new construction actually drives the levy rate lower because our budget can still only expand 1%. That's how this growth. It's not just the existing homes AV increase. It's the new homes. It's the new construction increasing the assessed valuation, which drives down the levy rate. So it's this kind of
There's that one handout.
Pick that up. Yeah.
I mean, if your house goes from 100,000 to 200,000, the levy rate can only go up 1%. So
So
You-
it's
you-
irrelevant. I mean, how
you'd be
how
a-
much the houses go up in value or whatever the rates are is irrelevant. You only get 1% of whatever you started with. So whatever the rateable value is, whatever taxes you pay, is meaningless in terms of the revenue that you get to cover us with service, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
So you talked about like new construction, and we talked about there's the 1% plus we get some from new construction. So between 2000 and 2024, or sorry, 2020 and 2024, the AV, the assessed valuation in District 21 itself went up 78.73%, and our tax revenue increased 10.65% in that same time. So that reflects the 1% plus new construction.
So we're broke.
Well, I think it's funny because we see that fire station in Semiahmoo, and I don't think everybody in Semiahmoo knows there's no one in
It's
there.
not manned, yeah.
That's
Right.
not manned.
The HOA was in there for a while.
Not very long. And as a retired nurse, it bothers me greatly that we're not gonna get the help. If we call for an ambulance, like you said, how many guys are already out or people are already out on a call? And I'm gonna be waiting and waiting?
That
And that
station,
area is getting bigger and bigger.
how long have you lived there?
4 years.
Okay, so
5.
the station was built by the developer
Ah.
to entice people to buy a home in that area.
We saw it, we
Be-
said, oh,
be-
good, there's a
Because
fire
there's a
station.
fire station here, and there was never any additional funding.
Right,
You know, I mean, building the fire station was an expense, but when the builder was building all those homes, I'm sure it was not that expensive to put that in. We did staff it with volunteers for a period of time. We had, what do you call them, residents?
resident firefighter.
We had resident firefighters that were staffing that station, but it's never been, correct me if I'm wrong, staffed by full paid professional
It
firefighters.
just looks like it's such a big area that you guys have to cover.
It is huge.
Yeah, huge.
I drive to a meeting at headquarters. It's a half an hour from my house just to get to the station. So if they're the ones coming to Birch Bay, I'm in trouble. Yeah, the demographics here are, it used to be a bunch of volunteer departments, separate entities, all these stations. What do we have, 11 stations? We had 11 fire stations, and they were all volunteer. Half of them were different departments with different chiefs, and you know, we can't get volunteers anymore. Most working families work 2 jobs, 3 jobs. Most young people that we have recruited in the past, we pay a lot of money to send them to the academy to get trained, and then as soon as a job opens somewhere, they take it and leave. So it's not economically feasible for us to continue to do that. We'd love to have volunteers, but we do have a volunteer tender group. They're CDL truck drivers, and they bring water to the fire, but they're not interior structural firefighters. And they're very useful in this district because we have a lot of areas that don't have hydrants. But that's pretty much the extent of our volunteers. We have some rehab people, but yeah, I was a firefighter for 30 years in Bellevue, so coming here was kind of an eye opener for the distance and jurisdiction and the amount of area we cover. And you know, 15 years ago, when call volumes weren't that high, it was doable. The problem that probably the previous boards and administrations, if there was a lesson learned here, is, as you saw, the last levy lid lift was in 2006, and we're really should be funded more. And I hate to use the school district as an example, but if we don't ask the voters to lift the lid, that rate goes down regardless. So we have to, you can expect that if we do this right, we'll be doing it more often.
For smaller amounts.
Yeah, And right now, I mean, I'd love to go to $1.50, but there's no way we can convince the voters to do that. We get to $1.10, we can pay the bills, and then maybe in a few years, we'll raise it a nickel. Or in a few more years after that, we'll raise it a dime, but not have to do 30, 40, 50 cents at a time.
Is your presentation available? I mean, I'm on the board of our HOA, and I'm sure there's a lot of our residents would like to see what we've just gone through. Is your presentation available?
Absolutely.
Half of them don't live here right now.
Yeah, I know.
We did the,
We did the like the governing board of the SRA.
Yeah.
We did that a couple weeks ago. And then April 4th, Commissioner Ansel and I, and possibly Commissioner Rigberg, I haven't talked to him yet, are going to be at the Semiahmoo Men's Breakfast Club. But yeah, I've spoken.
I left my email address. Would you mind emailing your presentation?
Absolutely.
What I'll do is I'll just distribute it to all of our residents and explain your dilemma.
And I'd be happy to come into any of your meetings.
Okay, thanks.
And I'll get you my business card. Yeah, no, absolutely. I'll take this show on the road.
Yeah.
So.
This presentation is also being streamed live to YouTube right now and will be on YouTube
Oh, good.
for perpetuity. So you can also
Okay, good.
search on YouTube for North Whatcom Fire and Rescue and you'll see the channel and be able to watch it again.
So it is definitely a critical community issue, and we really want the voters' input between now and so what happens now is that on the 21st the commissioners will take this question up as are they going to put this on the ballot in August, and if they elect yes, then they'll sign a resolution and it'll go on the ballot. But I would really like for them to get feedback or get feedback myself. Is this, what do people think about this? Is $1.10?
To me, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
the 2021, we tried twice and it failed both times. Part of that was, I think, COVID made people really angry and they didn't want to do anything, and we had no public outreach because we couldn't meet people.
Oh,
And
right.
so that was
Just bad
that was
timing.
kind of like early Zoom when people weren't really familiar with how to do that, and so my sense this time is the word is getting out way better. We've had a lot of news releases. I wish there were 50 people here tonight, but we'll go out and meet them. And if people like you, if you can spread the word, we would certainly appreciate it. I think that the chief has been very transparent. Like he said, we've passed all of our audits. We are debt free right now, but we are going to have to go into debt to build that fire station.
Yeah.
And
And to get people, like
yeah.
nurses and firefighters will go where the money is.
Well, if I may, this year for the first time, we to balance the budget, we're taking money out of reserves.
Yeah.
And we all know that's not sustainable. We can do it for a few years, but it's not sustainable at all.
90% of our budget goes to personnel. So you want to buy a $2 million ladder truck, it's not going to happen. So, anyway, thank you for coming, and we'll get you the information. And unless anyone else has any questions or comments, I will move to adjourn the meeting, and thank you everyone for coming. All in favor? Kimberly still on? All right, thanks. We're going to adjourn.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, if you can think of anything we can do.